This is Michael McKean. I'm appearing in The Little Foxes at the Friedman Theater in New York City. And this is Roll Call. Edna Turnblad, I would say the anti-heroine of a show called Hairspray. And I took over for Harvey Fierstein. Those are some big cups to fill. He was just awesome to me. And he was happy with what I did in the end, once he had done a little meddling. But getting back to this, it was of course Mr. Long, Mr. William Ivey Long, who is probably as good as it gets. And it was my pleasure to work in his work. I was wrong for the role of Willie because he didn't even have the name of Willie at the time. But this was a sentimental favorite in a way. This was my first big motion picture. And I have one line. Now that doesn't make it wrong for me in any way, except that I was a soldier. I just don't think I have the discipline to have ever been a successful member of the armed forces. I had fun anyway, but they could have gone more soldier. Because it's the gift that keeps on giving, I spent so much time on this role. We began working on this as a sketch on a TV show in 1979. We started working on the quote-unquote script. As you know, it was improvised. But we built the story, we built the past of the characters. I know this guy better than I know anybody. There are things about my wife that I don't know, I'm sure. There's nothing about David St. Hubbins I don't know. Every day somebody would show up on the set that we knew was a genius. Paul Benedict, Howard Hessman, Paul Schaefer, Billy Crystal, Dana Carvey. I mean, come on. It was like the most lovely way to be beaten up every day. Get a lot of core workout when you laugh a lot. I'd have to say this guy, it's in a pilot that you hopefully won't ever see. The guy is a motivational speaker. And you're hearing my motivational speech right now. This is it. This is my level of pitch. The only thing good about this was they shot it less than a mile from my house. That makes me sound like the laziest man on earth rather than the third laziest man. People ask me a lot of things about Clue. Of course, the first thing they ask me is, did you do it? In other words, was there an ending you didn't see? And the answer to that is, weirdly, yes. There was a fourth ending that we shot, and while we were shooting it, we went, The experience of doing Mr. Green, it didn't really leave any unanswered questions for me, but people ask, the main thing they ask is, was it really fun? And the answer is yes, and we had the funniest damn lunches. Every time the check came, Martin Mull would do the same thing. He would look at the check and say, apparently we broke something. This was not only the role that kicked my ass, it was the spelling I could never master. I did it in Chicago at the Steppenwolf Theater in 2008, the year the Cubs almost won. It had an extended fist fight at the climax of every performance. When you do two of those at Steppenwolf on a really humid day, and you get out and it's still about 90 at 11 o'clock at night, and the air conditioner, you forgot to turn the air conditioner on. All kinds of things can make this kick your ass, but the spelling is still the worst. The premise being there's no time like the present. This is what I'm presently doing. I'm playing the role of Ben Hubbard. I saw Brian Murray do it in the phenomenal production with Stockard Channing about 20 years ago. And I literally thought, I'd like to do that part someday. That's a really cool part. Decades rolled on, and I am in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm shooting one of the last few episodes of Better Call Saul, the season 3. So my manager calls and says they're doing The Little Foxes with Laura Linney and Cynthia Nixon, and they're going to be alternating roles. And I said, you had me at the first syllable of Laura Linney. It just happened exactly right. I finished shooting. 48 hours later, I was sitting at the table with this phenomenal cast. I'm having such a good time that if they forgot to pay me, I'd be okay with that for 2 weeks. and then the hammer would come down. This is where you make up your own category. Bet You Never. This is a movie that was made for HBO. This was the first time I ever played someone who actually existed. William Christie Cabinet, who was much younger than me at the time, was a guy who worked for D.W. Griffith. Christie Cabinet was this guy that D.W. Griffith sent down to Mexico to get with Pancho Villa and make movies about him. Make the movie of the story of Pancho Villa's life, starring Pancho Villa as himself. But the experience of playing Christie Cabinet was interesting because he was a real guy, and he didn't leave much of a footprint on the movies in the 20s when we're talking, or in the teens when we're talking about. But in the late 30s, early 40s, he directed a ton of movies. But Christie Cabinet actually would have been in his 20s, and you know, they got the old dude instead. Well, this was actually a lot of fun, and I'm glad I was tricked into it. It was a little intimidating seeing all these roles that are now staring at the back of my head. And I hope you got a little pleasure out of some of them. It really is a great gig, what I do. You get to hang out with people, and then when your shoot is finished or when your run is finished, you get to say a tentative goodbye to them. And then when you run into them again, those relationships pick up. It's like kind of going through about 150 different high schools or moving to 150 small towns and then moving out. Anyway, this was fun. The Little Foxes is running until June. I think the tickets are flying out the door, so that's a good thing, but try and get to see it if you can. It's at the Friedman on 47th, and I'm having a blast, and I hope you will too.